stage is yours.
Thank you.
And you have plenty of time.
Thank you.
Take your time. All right, thank you.
So as Arda mentioned, my name is Omar Christidis. I'm the founder and CEO of Arabnet. Arabnet runs the leading digital summit in the Arab world, very similar to the Webrazzi Summit. We also recently launched a content portal writing about the industry, a news and analysis about web and mobile startups that are launching and getting funded in the space. We're excited to be working with Arda and with Webrazzi to build bridges between the digital markets in the MENA and Turkey. I want to tell you a little bit about the e-commerce opportunities today in the MENA region. Specifically, I want to start by saying there's a huge boom in the Middle East e-commerce market, and that's part of a general boom in the internet market in the Middle East. Right now we have about 70 million internet users in the MENA, and that's about double the number of internet users, according to my statistics yesterday, that exist in Turkey. There are about 35 million users here. However, the 70 million only represent 31% internet penetration. The population is still quite large, and so there's a huge potential for growth in the region. And we can see that the growth is actually happening. It's about 60% growth of internet penetration year on year in the region. And this is growing all of the businesses in the sector, from e-commerce to digital advertising to content, mobile and mobile apps. Specifically in terms of e-commerce, the region's market is roughly about $4 billion US, which, as I've been hearing, is about a third of the Turkish market. So while the region is bigger, the e-commerce market is not quite as mature as it is here. If we look at it regionally, the countries that are leading in this space are the Gulf countries. The most important country is the UAE. Dubai and Abu Dhabi represent about half of the e-commerce market with $2 billion. Saudi Arabia is the second most important market with about $500 million. But expected to be $850 million by the end of 2012. So again, growing extremely quickly. $300 million in Egypt, as well as about $250 million in both Qatar and Kuwait. This is kind of a rough sense of the market. If we look at user habits, about 33% of the online users are purchasing regularly or sometimes online, which is actually higher than the numbers we just heard, about 28% in Turkey. However, more importantly, 39% say that they intend to purchase online. So they haven't before. This is the potential for growth in the region. The top categories, very similar to what's going on here in Turkey. Airline tickets and hotels, #1 category. Second is books. Third is clothing and accessories. And fourth is computers and electronics. I didn't put any statistics here because all the reports kind of vary in what are the actual numbers. But what is clear is that actually women and men buy differently. Men tend to be buying the airline tickets and hotels, and women tend to be doing more of the clothing and accessories shopping. So, looking at the MENA region and the challenges, there are a number of challenges and opportunities presented by these challenges. First, the major e-commerce platforms and payment platforms are not existing in the Middle East right now. eBay does not exist, Amazon does not exist, and PayPal does not really exist. I mean, you can use PayPal to pay for things, but you cannot tie it to your bank account. So it makes you need to have a credit card for the transaction. And this is actually one of the biggest challenges in the region, credit cards and trusting online payments. And this is something that we've heard in the previous talks as well, is a major issue in the Turkish market. 43% of people who are not buying say that they don't buy because they don't trust online payments. And more than this, 53% do not have a payment card. And actually, if you look at the numbers for Egypt, it's remarkable. We're talking about 90% of the Egyptian population does not even have a bank account. The post office allows them to have kind of a savings account, and most people are depositing their money in those accounts. Another problem in the region that we have is logistics. So unlike Turkey, which is one country, no borders, we have many countries, many borders, and that can create a number of issues. 23% of people say that they don't buy because of lack of reliable delivery. But beyond the lack of reliable delivery, there are the problems of customs taxes, right? So first of all, the taxes are not necessarily stated. So you could buy an item, have it shipped to you, and not know exactly what they're going to charge you. And sometimes that could be as much as the price of the item itself. So you get it, you bought it for $100, you felt like you got a great deal, and then you pay $100 more in taxes. There are a number of local solutions that have emerged to help solve some of these problems. Shop and Ship is a service by Aramex, which is a global delivery company based in the Middle East. They have created this Shop and Ship service. They allow you to have a PO box in the UK and in the United States, and then they'll have it as a forwarding address and send you the products to your home address. And they're also working with a lot of e-commerce companies to try to ease the process of shipment across the region. And the other side of things are online payment cards. And this is actually, there's a whole bunch of them in the region. I put up two of the most important ones, which are One Card and Cashew. And these are prepaid cards that you can actually buy at a kiosk and use to do online commerce. And they're mostly actually being used for virtual goods and gaming. But on top of this, almost all of the banks have fixed limit cards that you can use to spend online and not worry about someone coming in and taking all the money out of your account. They'll only be able to take out the limit. So, looking at the MENA e-commerce market, I'm going to talk about three main subjects. One, the traditional platforms, so merchant platforms and auction sites and classifieds. I'm going to talk about social commerce, and specifically here, group buying sites and private shopping sites, and new investments in the space. What's going on and what trends do they tell us about what's going on in the Middle East? First, traditional platforms. So the most well-known traditional platform is souk.com, which literally means like shopping mall or bazaar in Arabic. And it was the first e-commerce platform in the Middle East, launched in 2005. I don't know how many of you, anyone know here Maktub? How many of you, let's do a quick straw poll. How many people here know of any Arab e-commerce companies? Raise your hand really high so I can get a sense of that. Okay, good, great. So a lot of people are going to get a very good sense of the market from this. So Souk is one of the main players and probably the oldest from 2005. They started as an auction site, so they started eBay style, but they found that the market was not really as accepting of that. And so since then they've been moving more and more towards catalog, fixed pricing, more of an Amazon style company. Now, the important thing to know about Souk is that it's part of Jabbar Internet Group. So Jabbar Internet Group, Maktub is the largest publisher, online publisher in the Arab world. They were acquired by Yahoo. It's the biggest acquisition that ever took place in the Middle East, $180 million acquisition. So the guys who founded Maktub are now heading Jabbar Group. It's a web and mobile holding company. They have a vision of being the first, a billion-dollar valuation company that goes IPO in the Middle East that's working in the digital space. They've got companies that are working in gaming like Tahaddi. Aiku is an ad network. Dibras is about how-to videos and educational content. And, of course, their e-commerce platforms. So they've got a Kubon, which is a group buying site. They've got Cashew, which is a payment solution. And they've got Sukkar, which is a private shopping site, other than Souk, which we just mentioned is the oldest e-commerce platform. Another e-commerce platform that's interesting is nifsak.com. It's based in Egypt. It started in 2008. It's been mostly focused only on the Egyptian market. But last year, actually in October, I believe, they raised about $1.6 million for regional expansion. And this is part of the large boom. And you'll see I'm going to talk about a lot of companies that have raised money in the last year to have a really large expansion in the e-commerce space. Looking at the classifieds business, Craigslist, I don't know, does Craigslist have a strong presence in Turkey? Yes? Yes? No? No. So it's similar in the Arab world. Craigslist does not have a strong presence. Dubizzle was launched in 2005 to kind of fill that market need. It was launched in Dubai by two American guys in their own home with $12,000, classic entrepreneurial story. And it has since become the most successful online classified site in the region. They've got 120 million page views a month today. which is growing extremely quickly. In December, they had 95. In January, they had 120. They had 43 million classified listings in December of 2011. In March of last year, they were working basically purely in the United Arab Emirates. Today, they are in 14 countries in 3 languages, working in English, Arabic, and French. So these guys have strong regional growth interests. So, covered the traditional platforms. Moving on to social commerce. So social commerce, like many regions in the world, the Middle East has seen its fair share of group buying sites sprouting everywhere. You know, this is just a quick sample of some of the group buying sites, but there is a lot more than this. Every country has a couple of them. They're all vying to be the leader in the e-commerce space. I think many of them are hoping that they will be acquired by one of the global products and make a nice exit. And actually, we have seen one group buying site that was acquired last year in 2011. GoNabit, which was one of the first movers in this space, was acquired by Living Social. The value of the deal was not disclosed, but rumors that I've understood personally are that the acquisition was somewhere between $14 to $18 million in cash and equity. Groupon had established a presence in the region for a little while. Then they kind of stopped for a while. I think there was some disagreements with the CEO that they hired for the region. So they're not as big of a player as some of the local guys. Looking at 2 important other local players, Kubon, which we just mentioned, is a Jabbar Group company. So they are, leveraging their extensive network of other products to be able to grow that business. And Oferna, which received a $1 million investment. Actually, they announced it at our most recent conference in Cairo in October. Again, that investment was to help grow their business. Now, done with group buying, looking at private shopping. How many people here know Marca VIP? So I'm doing a straw poll because Marca VIP actually has a presence here, and their recent investment was covered by Webrazzi. So there are 2 main private shopping clubs that are leading the market in the Middle East. One of them is Sukkar, which is part of Jabbar Group, right? Again, like this behemoth in the Arab region that is it has its fingers in a lot of places. Marca VIP, Sukkar launched before Marca VIP. They launched in April 2010, and they reached 1 million members in 18 months in October 2011. They're seeing extremely rapid growth in revenues, 25% month-to-month revenue growth. The second company in this space is Marca VIP, and they're the second player. They launched 4 months after, but they're actually very, very close in competition with Sukkar. Actually, their CEO claims that they are actually the biggest e-commerce company in the Middle East. He tells me that he's going to be speaking at our upcoming summit in March, and he says he's going to have some really amazing numbers to share with everyone. But some of the numbers are 100,000 increase in number of customers month to month. This is the growth in membership. These are numbers that he shared with me yesterday, actually. 3.5 million orders in the month of January, this past month. And they raised $5 million in December of last year, the largest investment in any e-commerce player in the Arab world to date. So, last thing I want to talk about is some of the recent investments in the space. And again, it's very similar to what's going on in Turkey. We were just talking about how the new investments and new startups that are coming up are really focused on specific products, specific market segments, or specific verticals. So one of the recent sites is called Mum's World. It's a site focused on e-commerce for mothers, babies, and children. They launched in November, and since then they have 28,000 registered users and 70,000 unique monthly visitors. Extremely fast growth. Another site is Jamalon. At our conference we have entrepreneurs who pitch their ideas and their startups. I know that Webrazzi is doing this year for the first time at their VC event. So Jamalon was one of the startups that pitched last March in our event, and they raised $400,000 to grow their book selling platform. Another site just announced 10 days ago, just announced $2.4 million investment from Souk.com, and that's Run to Sport. They are a sports apparel company. and Nemshi, which was just launched also this month by Rocket Internet Group, which I know has different sites actually all over Europe and in Turkey as well. And they're focused on selling footwear and aiming to be the Zappos of the Middle East. So again, we're seeing very targeted, specific sectors and markets that people are targeting. So last thing I want to mention, I believe that there's a really big opportunity for Turkish markets in the Middle East region. There are some challenges like we've outlined, including payment solutions and logistics. But if you look at the region, the growth is enormous. The market is underserved. The market has linguistic homogeneity. It's really one language. You're not like Europe where you have to do German and French and Italian and 17 other languages. Turkey is very close. There's a cultural understanding. And I think that it's an opportunity for a lot of Turkish companies that are looking to expand to look to the East. We are having our upcoming event in March, as I mentioned, the March 27th through the 31st. We'll be bringing together 1,500 people from around the region, more than 20 countries, as well as top people from Europe and from Silicon Valley. And many of the people that I just spoke about, the companies, their CEOs will be speakers at the event or will be attending. So it's a great opportunity if you're interested in that market to come and connect with them there. So I invite you to join us. And thank you very much.